Okay, so I have just started the recording. So thanks for joining, everyone. So we're going to start off by reviewing the translation performance. So let me share my screen for that. Okay, so can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, these are the latest performance results. So we are performing very well in French Canadian and both Spanish version, Latin America and Spain. We are 100% at both translations and reviews of translations. So thank you very much to Pierre, Jessica, and Gabriel for assisting with that. Very closely, also doing very well in Mandarin, Italian, Arabic, German, and Portuguese from Portugal. We are very strong performance for Russian and Ukrainian as well. So those are our highest performing languages. Hindi, we have machine translations activated, so it's always good to reflect 100%. We do have to try to enhance the review portion. We have definitely gradually enhanced it, but it would be great to get it up even higher if we can. The goal is at least 90%. Portuguese, Brazil, same thing here. We have somebody from 2U assisting with that, Julia. We only have one person assigned, which makes it difficult to keep up with the reviews. Indonesian is a new language that we added, is doing fairly okay with both translations and reviews. There's no machine translations activated. Danish is our lowest performer. We just recently added it, but because we have less than 50% in translation and 0% reviewed, we may have to reconsider keeping it on the list. And then, as you can see here, Greek, actually, sorry, Turkish is at the bottom, but that's another very high performing language, both 100% at translation and 99% reviewed. And Greek, we have the machine translations activated above 50% on reviews. Okay, any questions about this?
No.
Okay. Yes, Alexandra?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to kind of remind you to remove the Peter's and my names under the Russian language.
Oh, yes, you are already removed. There's nobody from Raccoon Gang under Russian.
Okay. No, I'm just meaning here it is
mentioned. Here. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
And I sometimes receive like notification in the Transifex from someone who like apparently is working on Russian and like ask to do something there. So yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, Alexandria, your last point, I couldn't hear you. You were cutting out a
no,
little.
That just sometimes happen with me, at least. Someone on Transifex writes me, probably as a coordinator of some language, asking to like promote them or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a tricky part. I can't control who messages you in the Transifex application.
No, that's totally fine as long as they are not Russian.
Yes, but I definitely removed you. I removed you and Peter from Russian and Transifex, but I forgot to remove it here. But yeah,
all right. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions about the performance? Okay, so if there's...
Excuse me, I am Alice Tingbor from Turkey. Is it possible to add Turkish to the default supported language because it's nearly 100%, and Turkey can be one of the natively supported language, because since probably Hawthorne release, I'm translating constantly this language, and it can be one of the new languages supported natively.
Oh, okay. So included by default in the code.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, that's one of the topics in the agenda, which languages to include. And Omar, actually, I linked it to one of your PRs that this is the table that we are covering. And I would say my recommendation is anything above 50% in translations. You can include, I know your proposal was 10%, right? In the PR.
Yeah, I wasn't like being very specific. Like I throw out a number. 50 is better. Right.
Yes, I would say that's my recommendation. Does anybody have a different opinion, or does anybody object to that, sort of the 50% translation mark? Or has an alternative proposal? No, okay. So yeah, so definitely, as you can see here, Omar, it's not organized by performance level, but you can see for Turkish, for example, very high performance, as Ali mentioned. So we can definitely include it. Okay, now the other very important issue that we have added to the work board is that the Quinn's master branch will be cut on October 9th. So if we can try to optimize our correlated languages in terms of translations and reviews of translations by that date, it would simplify the process for getting it transferred into all relevant resources. So we just wanted to set a reminder since it's coming up very soon. Okay, so just keep that on your radar. And then Ghassan already posted this on the translation Slack channel as well. Any questions about that?
Well, I have a question, but it's mostly directed towards Omar. Will OEP 58 be included by the day we cut Quince?
I think currently it will be only included for one MFE, which is the communications.
Okay.
Because as you know, it's the only one that that has no translations in the older projects.
But yeah, I know it will be included as a test in the in Quince, but will the communications MFE be translated for the other people who will not be using OEP 58?
I don't think there's a plan to support non-Atlas translations on the communications MFE. So it's already, let's say, like there was already no support for it, and I don't think anyone is willing to add support for it. So it's going to be in a I wouldn't say like it's non-ideal situation until everyone most repos catch up and become supported by the OEP 8. Currently the work that we are doing is mostly focused toward making sure the edX platform supports OEP 58, which is not going to be a fast thing. We've already merged a couple of PRs so far. I'm going to share with you guys a link so you can at least get a sneak peek about the work that's being done. It's a list of 150 PRs. Most of them are already merged. Some of them are in discussion, so just to understand what's the scope that we've left. So Quince will have like very little OEP 58 support because Tutor has no support for that. Configurations repo has no support for that. The edX platform itself has no support for that. So currently we have the infrastructure, but we are not deploying it anywhere. So it's not what we ideally would like to, but we're trying to maintain backward compatibilities and not, let's say, introduce unpleasant surprises for everyone, basically.
Yeah, that's
So-
a point I raised in the latest build test release working group meeting, because there was some concerns about if it would be supported by Tutor or not by Quince.
No, I don't think so. We've got a little bit a delay on the merge, like on the pull requests, because I mean tutor review capacity is a little bit low. It's just Regis doing all the work. So when he, let's say, when we get a comment, it, let's say, even if we address it, let's say immediately, which not always happens, it takes some time from Regis to get back to us.
Okay,
So no,
thanks.
Quince will not include it.
So even despite the acquisition of Edley, there's no dedicated team for tutor support on the Edley side at this time. It's just Regis still.
No, there is. I think we've got, let's say, for example, for tutor MFE, we've got Adolfo Brandes maintaining that. So this is one additional owner. We've got a new owner for the tutor discovery, which we are trying to, let's say, basically, it's the first repository, it's the first service that gets a tutor support for O58. But as you can see, this is a transition period. So it's a little bit, how can I say? We're paying the tax for that, let's say, the acquisition is a good thing in the long term and the medium term, but currently I think it's affecting us a little bit negatively. I mean, to be honest, no complaints about that. I'm really happy, let's say, basically to use a tutor. So on that side, I'm completely happy. But when it comes to contribution in this week, it's a little bit slow. But again, no complaint about that. I think the team is doing great. It's also sad that we are missing the Quince deadline.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no problem.
Do you, speaking of tutor, do you plan to add a tutor form, not front-end discussion? Because I usually maintain tutor form, the discussion backend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it need it or not? Because I take an eye on that, but I don't think so, because there is a front-end app discussion, which is separate. It is in tutor
Yes.
MFE. And
Yes.
there is a discussion backend service. I don't think it has some string to be translated. Does
Yeah,
it?
last time I checked, like you said, discussions like the CS common service has no
Yeah.
interfacing strings
Okay.
whatsoever. Yeah. You're right.
Okay. Just in case, just you can address, because I take care of tutor form sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think it is related to 58 anyway.
Okay, and then speaking of the MFE localization issues, I know some people have posted channel. Anna, you posted some concerns, and Pierre. So it's being currently tracked in the 2 PRs that I listed here. And it looks like that the MFE issue will be addressed by the front-end working group. So we can monitor the open PRs, but Adolfo is sort of taking the lead on addressing these, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I haven't seen this before. I'm gonna tag myself on this and see if there's anything I can do. If you don't mind, just add me to the assignees, myself and Adolfo. I think that should be helpful.
So then we would be adding front-end lib content component to OEP58.
It's already added, but I'm seeing that something is missing. That's what I'm seeing.
Okay, so I added you, Omar and Adolfo.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll see. I mean, it's all what we're trying to do is we are introducing a new design patterns in the in translations, workflow, and in the front end support. So we are all effectively new to this, so there are a lot of blind spots, but we are trying to address it actively.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think this is one of them.
Okay, thank you, Omar. Ali, you have your hand up?
Yeah. Okay. I have two things to tell. We are building several Open edX instances for our customers. One of them, I'm writing now here, is one of the most multilingual Open edX installation probably, is allinturkiye.com. Now it's being served in 12 languages in the same time. And it can be really interesting story to how to say to tell to everyone. So Adam, if you want, we can make a meeting about it. So you know, sometimes Open edX is making stories or blogs about it. It's really interesting for us because it's multilingual and language and educations every week is increasing. And second thing, for example, one of our languages was Hebrew. Hebrew now is 44% translated in Transifex. So we install POL files and we made all translation to the professionally to someone to some translation office. So we have Hebrew language that is nearly 100% translated. But the problem is that I don't know Hebrew and I don't know how to put on Transifex. If you want, I can share our translations file in Hebrew, and so we can reach to nearly 100% on Hebrew language also. We made this translation to one professional translation center.
Yes, we have Hebrew and Transifex. We just don't cover it in the group because I couldn't find an active contributor to the translation working group. But yes, looking at the performance, it is very high. So what I was messaging people from Campus IL to see if they would be interested in joining the working group and assist with reviewing translations. It looks like they are already very active. People are active here, but I couldn't find somebody to join the group yet. But I think it's a good idea to add it to our list of languages giving the high performance rates.
Yeah, so I can share with you our translation files. That is, you know, they are PO files. So I'm not, I don't have admin rights on Transifex or Hebrew language. Probably I don't have to because I don't know this language. I can make errors and I'm afraid of it. So our translation office, they made a quite good translation for Hebrew, and I can share, and so we can increase this translation percentage also for Hebrew.
Yes, okay, Ali, that sounds good. So, and then regarding your other initiative that you want to highlight in form of a blog, we also have monthly meetups where you can present your initiative. So I just put my email in the Slack.
Yep.
Sorry, in the Meet here in the Google Meet chat. So if you can kindly send me a summary of your initiative, a summary
of the project, certainly.
Yes, a summary of the project, and then also the follow-up regarding the Hebrew language edition, and then we can follow up from there. You have my email there in the chat.
I took it. So,
okay. So let's connect on those two things.
Certainly.
And I agree with you. We can definitely add at Hebrew, even if we don't have somebody joining the monthly meetings because of its performances. Okay, so next, the duplicate term translations issue. Let me open it up. Okay, this was translation files requiring the same terms to be translated multiple times. Both Gassan and Pierre mentioned this issue. And then Brian indicated that the maintainers have to be in charge of potentially deduplicating this and to create separate PRs to flag these issues. So I don't know, Pierre and Gassan, if you came across additional examples and you created a separate PR for this.
I definitely didn't create any PRs, but this happens quite regularly.
Yes. So what do you think about the proposal here that Brian posted?
I'm not against it, but it will require a lot of time to catch them all because you only discover it when you have to retranslate a new string or you go back to that string, because going through all the strings in Transifex could take a long time just to make sure that the same strings doesn't exist in multiple repos or in different front ends and something. But I understand what Brian is suggesting is that, for example, in the front end, the way the strings are coded, they are identified with an identifier, and the same identifier, the same string may be connected to two different identifiers because this is what they decided to use for that particular string in a particular spot of the code. But if the same string comes back into the code in a second place, then they will use a different ID. So in the end, you will find yourself in Transifex with two strings that are perfectly identical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's an option for a simpler solution.
Yeah, I just want to say, following to what Pierre said, yes, it is of course require some amount of work, and it may not be like that for every duplicate there is no reason for it. It may be that there is a reason for that. That's one thing that one has to go over the list and try to figure out which are identical, open a BR, and then wait for someone to review the BR and then they close the BR. So yeah, fixing it would require some amount of time, not because just you want to find them, but because you will wait for some people to review, blah, 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 and merge. That's one thing. And the other thing I think is possible to consider is also, assuming we went to the process and we did all of that, then we still don't have, we need a way that for a future, not translator, but for a future developer or people who create the string, is that there is a policy where if I am creating a new string in my app or my X or UI, I need to make a little bit of effort to see if that string is already exists somewhere. So yeah, so it is both. It is something what we discussed so far is something to fix about what is already done, but no discussion about the future development, because we can fix it now and then in a year from now, same things happen again. That's also another point. Yeah, that's what I have from my end.
Okay. That's a very good point, Ghassan. So I added it to as a comment here. Okay, any other questions or comments about the duplicate term issue?
Yeah, Kassan, do you know of a pilot or like ESLint rule that could enforce that, for example?
I was looking at that up. I found one that would look for default message, that if the default message does not exist. But for this one, when I looked for the tool we were using, I didn't find. But if there is interest in this, I think it is not like impossible for us to create our own ESLint tool, because ESLint is very pluggable software that you can create your own rule or something.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
it should be. Ideally, we would have to, let's say, for example, an ESLint rule that says, yeah, this thing is duplicate. Use the other one. But if you want, you can add, let's say, ESLint comment to exclude it from the
Exactly.
list.
So ignore it because we think this one, once it translated, would be different than the other one. Something like that. Yeah. I totally agree. That would be good for the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna write my suggestion here, but I don't think I'm gonna have the capacity to follow up on that.
Okay, thank you, Omar. Okay, so, and then the missing string instructions is a separate PR that was posted. Thank you, Ghassan. You added the examples here. And this PR is being worked on. They're doing an org-wide approach for searching for these missing string instructions, and you can follow this PR. We will follow this PR to.
Yeah. The thing is, I think I lost what PR. You can click on the PR. The PR I added like a proof of. It was more or less a proof of concept that we can add something to our CI/CD test that it will automatically test if a string does not have a description. And what Brian was saying is that we need to add it to the front end build. But then what I'm still not following with Brian about, if we add it to the front end build, then all front end repo, once they upgrade their front end build, their tests will be all failing because they would need to fill them. So I wasn't sure about that, if that exactly, yeah, because it would be a very, yeah, it would, a lot of things would be failing if, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the definition, Kassan, of a, in my opinion, of a breaking change. So you bump the major version, and when it breaks, it's clear why, like it's a little bit clearer why the sudden change in the pilot rules. I've certainly had that before when I upgraded the front end build, and like I suddenly have to fix a couple of pilot issues. Of course, like not tens or hundreds, but like a couple. Usually, that's what I face.
Yeah. So you are also saying that we should also order to better to add front end build, even so it would be HMFE upgrading front end build is kind of breaking.
Yeah, if it's a major version, I think this is acceptable.
Good.
Okay. Okay, and then this is something, Omar, you have shared in the translation working group channel quite a few times. Can you just give a brief overview on the decision doc that you want people to provide feedback on of what the overall plan is? Because we do have technical users, but we also have non-technical. So if you can provide a brief summary.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Would you mind clicking on the link? There's also a preview link within the PR, so it shows up like the document. It's the 0018. Yeah, there's a preview link in the description.
This one?
Yep, that one, yeah. So yeah, so this is basically the decision that we're trying to formalize. It's currently, I mean, like it's accepted, but still not yet merged. So hopefully there is no a big veto that will block this from being like completely accepted. So the proposal here is basically that OpenEdX currently has 11 resources. If you've ever translated OpenEdX, I'm sure you've run into Mako and Mako Studio and underscore and Django partial and the other 11 resources that we have. So the decision here is basically that so like why this split was made, basically because first we have different technologies that would generate different files. So the Mako is a different extractor than the Django. The underscore has its own extractor. So this is a technical problem. It has nothing to do with like, it's not an intended complexity. It's more of an accidental complexity, in my opinion. The other split, which is more meaningful, that's split between studio and non-studio, which meant that translators would have the opportunity to focus on the LMS and then get back to the CMS when they're done. In my opinion, like this is what I'm arguing, that this is rarely the case, and usually translators, at least that's how I did it, and a couple of others also confirmed that this behavior would go on and strive for 100% completion rate. Not, let's say, 100% completion rate within LMS, but like 100% completion rate within the whole platform. So this proposal is to simplify this file splitting and make it more of a like the standard Django and Django.js resources that we have in all other reports, such as e-commerce, discovery, and every other report. If we still want to, let's say, split the translations, if this is like something we can definitely discuss in the future, ways to provide, let's say, more and better translator experience. But currently the proposal is basically to merge it. And the main benefit is that we will combine all the projects into, all the resources into one Transifex project, and adding 11 resources to OpenEdX would be a little, let's say, would add some difficulty for translators when they are translating the Alexa platform. So they would have to look up for 11 resources instead of, let's say, 2. So this is basically the proposal that we are proposing. And currently we have a couple of other trade-offs. If you would like to review it, I'm happy to. But like, please know that it's been open for about a month, and we are already kind of formalizing that it's accepted. However, if there is any objection right now, like if you guys have different experience than what I'm suggesting, so like what I'm like assuming, please let us know. Yeah, Pierre, go ahead.
I think I've already told you about what are we going to do with the JSON files for the front end, because they are not part of Django.po or Django.js.po right now, I mean.
Assuming that you mean for the MFEs, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. They will have their own resources. In fact, they still, like, they currently do.
Okay, so those resources will still be separately listed.
Yes, MFEs will have their own resources. I'm sure I printed the resources that we will merge them somewhere in this document. If I haven't, I can paste them.
Okay.
If you scroll down a little bit, I'm sure there is a list of the resources that we'll combine. Yeah, so basically, yeah, here's the resources. So it's Django partial, Mako, Wiki, edX proctoring, Proctor track. Those will be, so yeah, like these are 11 resources. We'll split them into 2 files, like either JavaScript or non-JavaScript. Basically, it will be the same structure that currently named releases would have been translated. So I'm going to share my screen, if you don't mind, just to show you. Yeah. Okay. Transifex. Still opening it. So let's open the edX platform here. Oops, resources. Yeah, it's still loading. So there's a couple of non-open edX resources here, but what I'm going to focus on is this, like, for example, Django partial, Django Studio, Django JS partial, Django JS Studio. As we can see, not e-commerce. E-commerce is fine, but like those those resources that are within the edX platform repository itself. So there are 11 resources here among the, let's say, the many ones that are merged when we cut an open edX release into basically 2 resources. So release Eucalyptus and release Eucalyptus JS. So what we're trying to do is basically mimic this like 2 resources for the entire edX platform, not including e-commerce, not including MFEs, for the master itself. So the reason I'm going to show you this, it will go in this project. If you're familiar with OEP58, this will make sense. If you're not, there's a little bit of a background that I'm going to have to share. So basically, this new project will have a resource for every repository. If it has a JavaScript, it will have 2 resources. For example, the AudioX block has 1 resource. The course discovery has 2 resources. We would like for the edX platform to have at maximum 2 resources. So edX platform, Python, and edX platform JS. This is the proposal. So instead of trying to locate the edX platform resources among, let's say, the micro front end and like keeping scrolling up and down, you will have just 2 resources for the edX platform, similar to what you would find in the open edX releases.
I like this approach from an administrative standpoint. It definitely makes things easier to manage. But I'm curious to hear from the rest of the group. What are your thoughts on this decision?
Well, in my case, Omar knows that I've been added to the Open edX Translations project. The only problem I have is that currently I have to translate things in 2 projects, so I'm doing the job in duplicate. And if there is something that would be useful at one point, Eden, I don't know if we need to do it right away, Omar, is probably to add the automated Google translations and Open edX translations.
Yeah, I can activate the machine translation fill-up to make it easier. Exactly.
You're on mute, Omar.
Sure. So yeah, I think someone else has to do this, and Eden volunteered. I cannot do this.
Yes. When can I do this, or are you going to alert me, or I can do it now?
I don't know how this works, to be honest. Does it like automatically goes on like for everything and
No, I have to activate it on the back end. But if you give me the go ahead now, I can already.
So, okay, I need to confirm with you this the specific behavior. So what we're trying to do, for example, for a couple of languages that we are piloting, we are syncing the translations for the new project, which is the Open edX translations, from the edX platform, all the project. So as you can see, this French Canadian is, hopefully that's not incorrect, is 100% translated, 100% reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So is this something is that what you're looking for, Pierre, or like you're looking for like, even with that, you still want the Google Translate to be enabled?
Well, I can give you an example because before the meeting today, I was I had 99 new strings to translate or review in edX platform. And obviously the same strings were replicated in Open edX translations. But, you know, in this case, the translation wasn't automated. So I needed to go back to edX platform makes sure that I use the same translation,
Okay.
and so on. So it would be nice if I already had the automated translation in order to help me review the strings, because
So what I would like to do is basically run on all of the resources, sync them from the old project into the new one, okay, and ask you if this is enough or we need something else. How about that?
well, that would be enough on a water spot. But if you were to change the strings in a repos at one point, then you would need to do it again, because it wouldn't automatically translate to OpenEDX translations.
Yeah, you're right. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
That's. I think you and I need to basically. I need to like study your workflow a little bit because this is obviously a new thing. We never had two resources on Transifex or the same repository, right?
Yeah, I know.
So,
and
yeah.
remember that when you gave me access to OpenEDX translations, you told me I would have to do the translations in both, because we haven't set up anything to.
Yeah. We are.
So
currently
it's not a
setting it
problem.
up.
It's not a
Yes,
problem
right.
for me right now, but it could be a problem in the future. But since we're not going to try anything different by Quinn, so we have a lot of time to think about it.
Yep, you're right. So, okay, I'm gonna have a proposal for the sync. Basically, the script and the infrastructure is already, let's say, 90% done.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna, let's say, formalize it into, and let's say at least at the document, how does the sync work? So you guys can work around that process and be a little bit, how can I say, more productive.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so Omar, you will notify us in the translation Slack channel once the sync has been completed, so that we can
Yes.
check. Okay.
Yes, I will probably add the sync for all the, let's say, list of the 50% plus completed languages. I think that's what we're currently targeting. And then we will include, let's say, all the languages instead of just those 50% complete. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's great. Okay, so any other questions or comments about this approach? No.
For me, it is just what I said before. So my understanding, like if I got it correctly, most of this change is mostly like is doing behind the curve, not necessarily so obvious to the translator, unless like they were looking for specific resources, and mainly for the edX platform, because you would want to combine all the both files coming from edX platform to be just two. And then in that process, that's what the same concern I asked about in GitHub, but just because people are here now, is that when you combine them, like if I was translating and reviewing all the string in Mako JS something on edX platform, it will then be in Django or something. But will my translation and reviews of the strings in Mako will still persist in Django? That's the only thing for me personally as a translator. Forget about the technical side. That's what I would be mostly about.
Yes. We are actually, we've synced we've done a couple of attempts to make sure that the translations, the review status, and the tags are synced. Obviously, this does not include everything. For example, some translation history will be lost, but we think that's okay. The other thing is that the translation comments will not be migrated. So the review, the tags, the translation itself will be synced. What we are trying to sync as well.
What do you mean by translation comments? What do you mean? Translation instruction? Sometimes
the translators discuss some comments in Transifex. This is a rarely used feature.
Yeah, because I never used it. I don't know.
Yeah, like some people use it. I used to use it in the past. This will not be synced because, but the translations itself, the comments on the translation, let's say from the source code, which is called the translator comments. I realize the confusion right now. this will be synced. So hopefully this will address your concern. I understand this is a top concern by you and Pierre and anyone who's, let's say, invested a lot in the platform. So this is already done.
Yeah, that's fine for me. And I guess also, as I said, it is probably for the future and the future development, most of the strings will be in JSON, not Go, as we move to front end, I guess.
Yeah, when I say profiles, like I mean like usual profiles and JSON. So they're from Transifex point of view, they're the same. So when we
But you're not gonna merge any JSON, are you?
no,
Yeah.
not yet. There's
Because the thing, sorry for that, because I think some strings can have the same ID.
yep.
Yeah. So it's not easy.
Yeah, no, we're not touching the MFEs. This is just for the edX platform repository itself.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean that's it for me. I think the only thing I was worried about for me or everyone is seem fine, so I don't have any
Awesome.
any objection.
Yeah, I'm gonna try
to
to
what you
think about,
said.
let's say, the translator comments, because I realize the translator community is much wider than this call, and some of them don't even, let's say, subscribe to the how can I say, to the channels that like we post to. So, but I'm gonna try to nevertheless they use Transifex. So I'm gonna try to, let's say, introduce some deprecation notice in the resource names. So maybe at some point of time, we're going to see some, let's say, deprecation notice in the OpenEdX resource names in Transifex to encourage people to look for the other resource.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you, Omar, because as you said, there's a pretty big community in Transifex, and they are not part of this group or in Slack. Okay. Any other questions or comments about this approach? Okay. So this was the last topic on the agenda. Actually, one topic that we missed was the Lexica test. So let me quickly share my screen. Pierre gave some examples of placeholder issues that have been addressed by the Transifex team. And I was asking the group if you found any additional placeholder issues, because the Transifex team can make some adjustments on the back end to address any errors that we encounter. So just wanted to obtain your feedback on that if you have any. Yes, go ahead. Was it? Oh, sorry. I thought somebody raised their hand. Okay. No comments about the Lexica edition, the placeholder, any additional placeholder issues? Pierre, I know you were checking after they made the updates. You haven't found any more issues?
I haven't had time to look at it in deeper since we talked last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay. No problem. If any of you see additional errors related to placeholders or any other errors, please let me know and we can address it on the back end. You can comment on the ticket and I will update the Transifex team on that. Okay, so we have about 9 minutes left. So are there any questions or issues that people were encountering within this last month since we met? Yes, Anna.
Well, I would like to talk about the item that is open for the to-do that haven't started yet, but we mentioned it the last meeting. It's the translations for the aspects dashboard related to the new analytics. So I read that Brian wrote a comment there saying that they would like to come to a meeting and show us how they are working on this, because it seems like they are ready with this thing. So I would like to ask if we could have a next meeting sooner than usual to reach this point.
Yes, they actually they are planning to present on this topic. Brian pinged me about this. He wasn't able to make today's meeting, but you're saying rather than next month's meeting, to see if he has time prior to next month to conduct a presentation. That's what you're asking?
Yeah, maybe if they have time for it, would be great. If not, in the next.
Okay, let me check with the team. The initial plan was to conduct the presentation at the next translation working group meeting, but let me see if Brian has availability to conduct this meeting sooner than that, and I will update the group and schedule a separate meeting if we can.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And then Alexandra, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a quick question, like, do we have some sort of list of guidelines or best practices on how to work with the open edX translations? I know that I kind of feel like I saw it before, but I really cannot find it anywhere.
You mean documentation?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I think we have one in translation document. I will share the link. I think Jessica created it once.
Yes.
I will share the link. I think this one. This is what I know. If this is what I know, I'm not. Yeah.
Sorry, Hassan, what I created? Yeah.
This one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and do we have a link to it somewhere for, I don't know, anyone to find? I mean, there is information about working group on our site, and there is a link to the Confluence. Probably we can put this information somewhere, like on the very first Confluence page that they land on while they click on the Open edX translation working group on the Open edX side.
Yes, definitely. That's a good proposal. We can put it into the first paragraph so it's easier to find on the Confluence page. Yeah, we can do that. That's a good point.
Remember, Ignan, that this document was created and in fact was edited by me last year. So yes, we need to maybe to set like a process of updating documents. And this is the case in which we need to update this document, including the links to Confluence or whatever is needed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
also we can add some screenshots. I remember that last year there were some screenshots to better for a better user experience, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. Is that something you may be interested in assisting with, to review the old
Yeah.
documentation and see if we can, what needs to be updated, including screenshots?
Yes, sure. I
Okay.
can help on that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's a good point. So we will do that, and I do agree that this needs to be updated on an annual basis. So
Yeah.
we'll make sure that gets done. Okay, perfect. All right. So any other questions? Or
From my side, Eden, it's not a question, it's just a comment. Just working with Anna related to the gender and tone on our translations for the Spanish part. Remember, there is a ticket ongoing in which, we posted some, let's say, solutions or tips for Spanish translators to avoid this gender thing. And we met with Anna and we agreed on continue working in this way, avoiding the gender thing, and to stick to the neutral gender, and also to stick to the formal register. So this is something we talked about, I think, last month, and we continue working this way.
Yes, I see the ticket here on the board. Unfortunately, we ran out of time to cover it in today's meeting. But if you like, you can present your findings in our next meeting.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that works great. So I will add it to the agenda for that. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we wrap up?
Not from my side.
For me, just one thing I find internally that I will work on it, that the front end app profile does not pull the correct translation from the Italian translation. It pull the translation IT, but the correct one IT, similar to what we had with the German. I will just put it on the board and work on fixing it, just to mention it. That's all.
Yeah, that would be great, Ghassan, if you can add it to the board and comment on it, and then we can view the issue in the next meeting.
Yeah, I think I will just for docs I put it there, but because I know the fix, I can quickly fix it. It's all right. But because we see this problem quite few times, maybe we will have we will need to discuss next meeting a way to normalize all the language with their strings and make sure it is there everywhere. Yes, can be on the next meeting agenda, not to take anyone time.
Okay, yeah, that would be greatly appreciated if you can do the fix and then provide the outline and we discuss it in the next meeting. That would be very helpful. Thank you. Okay, so we are now out of time. So thank you for all of you who joined the meeting today. As always, if there are any issues that come up or any comments, please add it to our Slack channel or the GitHub work board, and then we will reconnect in about a month. The third Wednesday of each month is when we meet. So looking forward to seeing you guys then. Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.